Welcome back to the Best Ball Happy Hour here at 4for4 Football. As always, I'm your host, John Daigle. No Ian Hartitz today, who is on an engagement vacation, but we do have, as usual, Underdog's own Hayden Winks. Hayden, 8 days out from night one. Can you believe it?
I can believe it because all I've thought about for the last 2 months is this damn NFL draft. So yes, I can believe it. Very excited. It still seems so up in the air. We pretend that we have a clue, and then we will wait until Wednesday and start learning some mock drafts, and then we'll have an actual clue. So until then, we'll pretend.
And this week's co-host of honor, the man who started it all, Best Ball Mania 1 winter, the first person who stacked Week 17 before anyone even knew to do so. It is Justin Herzig. Justin, how's it going, brother?
Cheers. Great to have, great to be on here. Great to have Winks as our, our guest as we co-host this. So this is exciting. I think my favorite part of the current kind of draft mock aspects are like 10 years ago, we'd always throw in like, this trade's going to happen and this player's going to get traded, but like it would never happen. Mm-hmm. Things have changed. Like, obviously we saw the AJ Brown last year. Like, there might be a Trey Lance. There might be a Derrick Henry. There may be actually some marquee players or just lots of movement that we didn't really see years in the past. So if you're making mocks now, you can actually get a little crazy. And like, you're probably wrong, but you're not crazy for getting crazy, if that makes sense.
I would imagine it's DeAndre Hopkins for sure on draft night is what I'm guessing. And by the way, Hayden, love to get your thoughts on that. But also, we are in the $3 12-team draft because all of you sickos filled the big board 8 days before night one. Not planned by the team in Underdog, we can all confirm, but nonetheless, it is filled. So $3 12-team draft. If you go in the Underdog lobby right now, there are 4 spots available. It's right there for you to join us. We will roast your team after the show. DeAndre Hopkins. Am I missing anyone else? Hayden.
I think Aaron Rodgers will get announced either after round 1 or right during round 1. And then I
forgot that shit has been going on so long. I forgot Aaron Rodgers was going to get traded.
It'll be one of like the picks in the 40s plus a future round pick. I think it's like not even worth discussing. I think Mike Evans is still going to be possibly traded. Chris Godwin potentially. DeAndre Hopkins. I've been hearing a lot of stuff to the Buffalo Bills. But I think those would be worth 2nd, 3rd, 4th round picks. So Brandon Cooks basically went for a fifth rounder. So maybe Mike Evans, DeAndre Hopkins, depending on the salaries, maybe worth like 3rd round picks. But I think there'll be some movement. I was hoping for more, but we just haven't gotten it this offseason yet.
What's the thought process with regards to why DeAndre Hopkins will be draft night? You think it's just people are waiting to pull the trigger till they see what's on the board, or Arizona's like, hey, now's the time. We know you've been interested. Give us that 4th round, 3rd round pick, whatever it is. Like,
I could see it on second, like during night 2. It gives everybody in the 1st round a chance to get the wide receiver that they want, and then if they swing and miss, then the next best option would be going the veteran route.
That's literally my thought. We know he's not getting traded for a 1st rounder anyway, so I just assumed we'd see a shakeup on night 1, and then they get 24 hours to process everything since day 2 starts a little earlier since it's longer with 2 rounds. And then since he's going to be shipped for a mid-round pick, that's when we see it happen. Just just the Cardinals trying to move up with some team and dangling DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, I mean, I think wide receiver is so interesting because obviously the offseason was such a talent-lacking offseason with Jacoby Myers and Alan Lazard kind of signing the largest, maybe being the most marquee like free agent signings. And then even this draft class for a wide receiver, like it's not strong either at the top or depth wise. And so that means that, hey, if you have an opportunity to get him like Evans and DeAndre Hopkins, like if you're trying to win now, I don't think any wide receiver in this class would help you this next year than DeAndre Hopkins and Mike Evans. Obviously, you'd rather have JSN for like a rookie contract, 4 years and all that. But like those guys are win now helpers.
Yep.
If the Chargers go tight end or defensive back rather than wide receiver, I would imagine Evans is probably on their radar at least because you can get him for a mid-round selection. I think running back is still the funniest because we literally haven't had a single running back sign since March 31st. Like teams are literally just leaving Jarrett McKinnon and the rest of them, Leonard Fournette, Kareem Hunt dead in the water and ignoring them until they see how the entire draft shakes up. It's wild.
Yep. I think Dane Brugler had like 6 running backs in the late part of the 3rd round. So sadly, all those veteran running backs, you wait until after the draft.
And we're losing one to the 6th, 7th round for medicals, right? Was it Tank Bigsby?
Sean Tucker, but he got
That's it.
He got clearance. The one that I'm a little bit concerned about, and I haven't heard anything yet, is Tyjae Spears. He's had 2 torn ACLs, and that was the other person that came to mind aside from Sean Tucker. So we'll see.
Yeah, because initially we were thinking that was referring to Sean Tucker aspect with like combine, all that, but sounds like he's good to go.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a little more interesting one. I thought it was most interesting for Underdog when we started off with the rookies and sophomores and the early big board. He was ahead of Devin Achane. He was, I think, like the number 4 running back off the board behind Charbonnet. And then just kind of dropped, which I think was the correct move. But like now maybe he's gone too far if this injury or this medical actually isn't him. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the initial report, I think it was Daniel Jeremiah, he said like a good running back might fall later. I'm not sure if Sean Tucker ever was like a good running back. So that's why I still have in the back of my mind that it could be Tyjae Spears because everyone loves this dude.
Also, what a generic statement. The running back's going to fall.
Yeah, exactly. I get it. He doesn't want to actually name drop him, but we'll see.
All right. We have not had a chance to speak with you on Superflex drafts just yet, Justin. So go ahead and give us your overarching thoughts. We will be drafting from the 112 in this particular case.
I love the 12th overall pick. You definitely can get an elite quarterback. No, I'm kidding. I was proposing that we run back some 3rd round reversals for Superflex. I think it's probably a very difficult tech thing for just Superflex and probably a bit confusing for the majority.
I think it's a communication, not tech issue.
that too. But my point is that, like, hey, when you're in the 12th, like, you're playing from behind. If you were to just take like a general EV and say like, hey, 8 1/3% is every chance randomly, you're probably starting from the 12th at like a 5% and more behind the 8 ball in Superflex than traditional. So in that situation, rather than trying to play catch up and saying like, I hope Deshaun Watson has a huge year and pair him with like a wide receiver, I've often just been saying, you know what? I'm not going to go QB. I'm going to go with 2 of the elite players, try to get the number 1 at 2 different positions, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and say, I'm willing to kind of hope that I can hit and put together Frankenstein enough together for your late QBs.
I would be very particular about which wide receivers I get because I still want to stack my 1st and 2nd round wide receivers. So, like, to me, drafting Steph Diggs here when you can't get Josh Allen, if Steph Diggs goes to the moon's the number 1 wide receiver, I think it's going to be very hard to make up those quarterback points from Josh Allen. So I would be very particular. I don't think it's the worst strategy at all. And I agree that you definitely want an earlier pick than the later.
Let's start with McCaffrey. So that's the easy one. Where's Stafford's ADP right now? Did he drop down to 52, I think?
He's still pretty low. Yeah, 52.7.
52. So we're likely not going to be able to get him from this other than a major reach. I don't know. I'm fine with Kelsey. I'm fine with not stacking Kelsey, but you're getting like the number 1 running back, the number 1 tight end, and we're hoping that we can make it work later on with QBs. And what I love about this, or I don't know what I love about this, but like what you can take advantage of is in normal Underdog, those wide receivers near the end of the drafts, like everyone is gone. But for this structure, because you only need to start 2, that depth really just doesn't change. So like tight ends, you're still able to get them at the end of the draft. So you don't need to worry about that. Running backs, they drop eventually, but like they're still, you're able to get. But that wide receiver is where, hey, I'm able to kind of round 13, 14, 15, still get guys who have the opportunity to be number 2 in a decent offense or have those spike weeks. So I'm okay playing a little catch up in this format for wide receivers.
And we obviously passed on Tua, Tyreek. We would not get Waddle, most likely, in that scenario. And then, as you mentioned, it did come down to getting Kupp, but probably having to reach for Stafford, even though Stafford still dips a little bit. But maybe that changed in the last 48 hours from the positive medicals he received.
He was hanging around like 62 or such, but he's moved up recently. Hayden probably actually tracks that better.
I definitely don't. Not at least during the NFL draft and busy with the other stuff. But I do wonder, with looking at the stacking, if there's only like, perfect example is Matthew Stafford. If you draft Cooper Kupp, no one has the incentives to draft Matthew Stafford because there's not a second pass game option. So I would guess that his ADP variability is wider than other ones. Like compared to like Joe Burrow, there's multiple teams that are going to have either T Higgins or Jamar Chase. So the chance that he falls is lower, but maybe every single team, if you're in a sharp room, especially, no one's going to draft Matthew Stafford. Obviously in Superflex things get a little bit dicier, but when the difference between the first pass catcher and the second pass catcher is that wide, I think there's a chance that the quarterback falls a little bit more than other quarterbacks.
It's definitely fair. And I mean, let's make that clear here. Like, this is a 12-person random league where obviously it's only playing for $3 and there's no tournament. But like, what we're talking about is with regards to a tournament. And yes, the Superflex one just finished. We believe there will possibly be another Superflex later in the summer. So the strategy to employ still works. But yeah.
And going back to the real quick, the Travis Kelce discussion about pairing with the quarterbacks, Travis Kelce can get there to 20 points and lap the tight end position instead of having to get 40 points to lap the wide receiver position. And if Travis Kelce gets 20 points, that doesn't necessarily mean that Patrick Mahomes is going to have a top 1, 2, 3, or 4 week as well. So if you're going to go this punt quarterback route, I like our strategy from 12 a little bit more than the 10 spot because of that Jamar Chase team's going to be they're going to be really making up points from Joe Burrow most likely.
And this is as far as you'll go without a quarterback, right, Justin? Like, you're not extending this in rounds 3 and 4 as well?
I sometimes am. So here's the thing. The guys that are available around here, you kind of get like a Geno Smith and you kind of get a Russell Wilson. And so when we think about like what we're looking for with those, they add definitely safety elements, but their upside really isn't that much higher than some of the guys going 3, 4, 5, 6 rounds later. Those guys later just do not have the floor or the safety element that they provide. So my ideal structure with these drafts is I want to grab one elite guy, usually in the early areas, and then I'm going to wait a long time and try to go with those high upside guys in the 4th, 5th, 6th round, Anthony Richardson, Trey Lance, whoever it is, and just say like with another 3 of them, I'll hopefully be able to get enough QB number 2 weeks. We didn't start off with any QBs, so we're a little obviously behind the 8 ball, but I'm still not willing when we're playing for such upside to really draft just for the safety of, I know this QB is going to be the starting QB. And to be honest, not actually that good with safety because Russell Wilson and Geno Smith could very well not be the QBs come playoffs, depending on how this draft plays out.
And I'm thinking Hayden with Geno on night 1, if Seattle pulls the trigger on a quarterback, still a big if Jalen Carter's around, he would not be a threat to Geno unless Geno just plays that terribly, in which case our teams would suck anyways. I
agree. I think the Seahawks, if I was ranking the teams in the top 10, I would not put the Seahawks above some of the other teams around them for odds getting quarterback, just because they gave Drew Lock a little bit of money. They're trying to make Geno Smith like more or less like the face of the franchise. They gave him decent money that guarantees pretty early on next year. I think they have a chance to be contenders in the NFC with their roster. So I think they're going to go and they have a top 5 pick. So they're going to get one of the premier defensive linemen.
All right.
Okay.
I'm just storing some players, but this is who's at the top of quarterback.
I was going to say, can we see all the positions?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay.
All except tight end.
That's fine.
I like Chubb.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, I like Chubb. I think there's a decent tier that we would miss out on running back from the next one. So we can grab Chubb there.
And with Chubb and CMC, I mean, we can wait anyways, those two.
We're very strong. I'd probably consider Russ here just to get that first QB.
Russ or Carr to me is fine.
I'll continue eating the Russ ownership and just hope for the bounce back, especially because Judy and Sutton are still so stackable. Like, they're still falling.
Yeah, I still think there's a chance that either one of them gets traded, but I think the compensation would be so little that maybe they're having second guesses. Like if Brandon Cooks goes for a 5, Cortland Sutton can't go for more than a 5, I would guess. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I think this is a pretty big year for them to really make a decision on Russ, whether you cut him after this year and save a ton of money, or you really kind of activate that contract and keep him long term, and kind of want to give him give him the best shot with all 3 of those weapons. Yeah.
What are you doing with Trey Lance, Justin? And today's news, which was still funny because only the 49ers could have leaked that news. No one else knew that they were taking calls. Did that news affect your decision on him, thinking that maybe he ends up on the Texans or Titans?
And specific to mention that they're taking calls, they're fielding calls, they're not making them. I've actually been drafting a decent amount of Trey and Purdy on the same team, on a team like this, where I think there's actually positive correlation where if, Trey gets traded, that's his actual best chance of playing the entire season, which also means Brock Purdy is probably going to be there for the whole season. So there is that positive correlation aspect. And I'm not scared of that. I'm still extremely bullish on like Trey Lance from a fantasy 1-year season thing. Like, he may not have it. He's better than Malik Willis. I can give you that. But like, there's a chance he doesn't have it. But if a team is willing to make a trade for him and just commit to him for this year, he's still going to produce fantasy goodness.
What do you make of that news, Hayden?
I think that there should be teams interested in this, and I think it'll be the Titans and the Texans. Obviously, they have the most connections over there. I don't think that 49ers want to trade him right now. They need to get through training camp. They want live bodies. They've mentioned before they want quarterback insurance. I also think they probably want to see the upside between Darnold and Lance throughout the offseason. So I think that one of them is going to get traded eventually. But I would guess the most likely outcome is like on Labor Day or something like that, like right after cut downs. Once we have some more clarity on Brock Purdy, then he would get traded. But I'm with Justin that there's correlation between teammates in the event of a trade. I think like Chris Godwin, Mike Evans on the same team is interesting for the same exact reasons.
That's why I was drafting Judy and Sutton previously, given that both of their target shares increased dramatically the last 2 years whenever one was off the field, even though that may still come back to bite me in the end if both stay on the roster. Also, it does just make a lot of sense that the Texans can now have this out in their hand that they can sell their fans on Trey Lance as like a first-round quarterback. It's, we didn't draft a quarterback, but we traded for Trey Lance. It just seems so likely, especially given D'Amico Ryans having already like at least been on the team with him. It's just starting to come together.
Yeah, I mean, let's role play it. What would San Francisco be willing to take in exchange for him, and what would another team be willing to pay?
I would say the 49ers would want probably either a 1 or an early 2. I think the Texans have like 33rd or 34th overall. I think that would
be the pick. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the Texans would do that.
I don't think you can get a 1 for him right now. 2 years left in the contract, may legit be busto. Like a 2 and a 4 feels like the price that
I think it's will happen later on in the year. I think it's will happen later.
If Levis goes 3 or 4, though,
oh god,
I think the Texans would much rather do that Lance deal than take CJ Stroud, because like even the Patriots cronies like Lombardi who are talking out loud right now, that whole branch is not in favor of CJ Stroud, which tells you Cesario thinks just like all those guys.
Yeah, well, we'll touch on Stroud in a second because the media about all this is crazy. You can put Judy in the queue at least for the stack right now.
Sure. Oh God.
I like both the quarterbacks at the top of the queue.
What do we have at the very top? Anthony Richardson, Trey Lance. Do we want to go 2 QB here instead of Judy?
Yeah, it's what we have. We still have Sutton. We can mess around with.
Let's go definitely Anthony Richardson. Start with Anthony Richardson.
Yep. Let's have the talk. Yeah.
We have no wide receivers right now. It is nice to get a stack partner here, but we are really behind the 8 ball.
It's only 2 starting wide receivers, as we all know.
I mean, again, we're going for big tournament like style. I think Trey Lance is the play here. If you tell me Trey Lance gets traded, he's now going to play the majority of the year, probably the whole year for Tennessee. This team now becomes a juggernaut.
Mm-hmm. And I think
just
for us,
not even Tennessee. Like no matter the team, as long as Trey Lance starting is released, then yes, then we have a chance for extreme rushing upside between Richardson and Lance. That's amazing.
Yeah, and this is for a non-tournament, so I would always lean the quarterback. It's the safest position.
Fair.
I think it's going to help your floor a little bit. But I think even for like the tournament upside, I think that Trey Lance has more upside than like most of the wide receivers in this range.
Yeah, if I was just playing cash kind of lobby, cash game style, I don't think I would have started how we would have. I think it would have been saying like, hey, take your QB, just try to win out on other positions. Like we're most likely going to finish last place or last 2 with this, or create ourselves a really strong team that can, have chances of advancing throughout the playoffs.
Do you still grind cash game style, the 12-team lobbies? Yeah.
Because
I remember
I stopped when I was doing with draft.
Yeah, I was about to say, I remember being like in a hotel lobby in Oxnard, California at Cowboys training camp, and you, Peter Jennings, and myself were in the 3 and 6 man lobbies drafting Travis Kelce #1 overall every single chance we got. Just like $100 drafts and just pounding the table for him.
It's funny. You saw the Russ Wilson drives in the bunker. So Peter and I were playing on that golf course last Tuesday, I think.
Which course was
it? Arrowhead.
He's a member of Cherry Creek, right? I've played whatever the one he's a member of.
Yeah, they had their greens were being aerated, so we ended up going to this public one, but still really beautiful course. But yeah, that just coincidence that it's then RQB here. Russ Wilson drives in the bunker. But we were actually we talked about that, and we had 6 figures down of cash 3-man volume back in the day. Yeah. It was crazy. It was fun.
It was a different time. It was a different time. One that
and we joked about Travis Kelce. We joked about Travis Kelce because Travis Kelce from a valuable replacement was just so valuable in those 3-mans. And then you could also do Boley tight end. And we were like, it's crazy that was 4, 5, 6 years ago. And like Kelce is actually as strong of a pick now, if not stronger than he was 6 years ago.
Yeah, it's insane.
I think the real question everyone wants to know, speaking of golf, is who took that photo of you and Mike Leone at the golf course that did not do Leone any justice whatsoever?
His brother-in-law. And it was funny. The way he took the picture, too, he basically was putting the camera like above his head, taking it and such. I was joking with Levitan and Peter that hey, I want to get a picture with you guys where I want to stand on my knees, where you have the pants that looks like I'm standing tall, so that they're that much taller than me. So then by correlation, Leone's
it's even smaller. Yeah, that's good stuff.
It actually looked like it came out like that too. I'm digging for it. I can't find it.
The important part of that picture was everybody was outside. We went outside for a little bit, and that's going to be what we're going to do before the draft. Is we're going to go outside. We're going to press pause on best ball for a second, so we have the stamina to last the entire summer long. So everyone go outside for the next week. We'll work on your rankings, and we'll get back to this thing next weekend.
I literally have, as you can tell from training from the first Sunday day in Chicago, I have a forehead tan already from a hat. I have the Toronto Marathon first weekend of May, and then 2 weeks later, 31 miles on Team Leone from Connecticut to Boston. Yeah, I'll be putting 57.5 miles on my legs in 3 weeks of each other.
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong at 35 working in fantasy, Hayden?
I ran through the airport 2 days ago when I was exhausted.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a whole winter of training outside in 5 degrees, so I'm ready.
What do we got on the board?
Let's look at this.
All right.
Pittman.
Throw Pittman.
Pittman.
We may have drafted his quarterback. We'll see.
And
At least
Ayuk.
put that in the queue.
And Ayuk.
That's possible too. Anything else on the top of the outside of wide receiver, other positions? No, those two make too much sense.
Wow,
for sure.
That was beautiful how that just worked out.
Yeah. I think that's about it. We're all settled on Ayuk, right?
We got the stacking partners at the top of the queue. That's as good as it gets.
Let's do it.
I think so. Pittman, I think right now is a streaming value where he's being drafted. Earlier in the summer, he was getting drafted kind of closer to the Drake London area. And that's when I was like, that might be a little too rich for my blood. But he's fallen down far. And now I think he's a value probably all the way up to the trying to look at the board right now. I'd take him above Terry McLaurin. I'd take him above JSN. Above Jameson Williams.
I kind of like Terry McLaurin this year. I think it's going to be Jacoby Brissett, and I think Jacoby Brissett is the best quarterback he's had, maybe by a tier or two when it just comes to throwing the football, not scrambling and all that stuff. So I have some optimism with old Scary Terry.
You keep saying Jacoby. Go ahead. I was going to say, you keep saying Jacoby Brissett. Are you sure Jacoby Brissett can beat out Sam Howell?
Yes.
So that feeds into my question. Yeah, I got a question on stream not too long ago that was whose job do you think is more secure this year? Sam Howell or Desmond Ridder?
Ridder. He was drafted earlier.
Yeah, Ridder, because I don't think the Falcons are doing anything at quarterback, honestly. Like no, I mean, with Ridder and Heineke, they probably feel comfortable with that. They shouldn't, but I think they feel comfortable with that.
Yeah, no, but I think Heineke has a legitimate shot to overtake Ridder. And my reasoning is I think the Falcons are a legit team. They may have, maybe the best team in the NFC South. And
they're in the right division. Yep.
Right. And so they're in win now mode. We've seen that from their offseason moves as well. Washington, I could see, I don't think they're going to be that competitive this year. I don't know what the win total is, but it can't be great. But I think they'd be more willing to say, you know what? Let's see what we got. Yeah.
Counter to that, job security between the head coaches. Ron Rivera's got to be first to be fired, one of the highest in the league, especially with new ownership coming in. And I don't think that Arthur Smith's necessarily on the chopping block. So I would wonder if Arthur Smith would be okay seeing what they have in Ridder, where Ron Rivera is just going to play the best quarterback no matter what. I'm not sure if ownership cares about Sam Howell at all. They probably didn't even know he existed before the last couple days.
Probably not.
So I think I'm just betting on Brissett being way better than a 5th round rookie that they didn't even want to start until Taylor Heineke told the coaches and staff, hey, you should look at this guy. And
that's what I was going to refer to Garage's chat, because yes, it's not about Brissett being good. It's about Brissett being better than any of Terry McLaurin's other quarterbacks. And I agree. I think either Hal or Brissett are better than anyone McLaurin's ever played with.
Did he have Matthew Fitzpatrick for a little?
Matthew Fitzpatrick won the RBC Heritage, so probably not. I don't think he had Ryan Fitzpatrick. Yeah, if that's who you're referring to.
We're in the off season.
I was watching it as well. Don't worry. Now, I don't think he had a stint with Fitzpatrick, right? I don't think Fitzpatrick was he on the Commanders? I don't think so.
He had Alex Smith and Carson Wentz and Heineke were the primary ones.
Okay.
They're all duty.
And a couple other terrible options sprinkled in between, but obviously none of them have mattered to this point. So,
I think worst case, Terry McLaurin's been a wide receiver 3-4 for the most part, even in this bad year. So I think you're risking 10 spots in wide receiver value for the upside to go up 10. I think that going up 10 is worth more than going down than the loss.
Just for the record, Ryan Fitzpatrick in 2021 played for Washington, played one game, 6 completions.
How did you remember those 6 completions?
I have no idea, but my mind was no, I definitely am seeing him in that Washington uniform.
All the quarterbacks, and you remember 6 completions. All right, so we're coming up on the Tannehill, Mayfield, Levis train at quarterback, and then you were seeing the running backs, wide receivers at the top here.
Okay, I feel strongly about taking one of these QBs.
I agree.
I'm interested in hearing your takes on them.
Taylor, can you pull them back up? I saw Tannehill.
Tannehill, Baker, Levis.
I think I like Tannehill.
Ooh. But wait, we have...
I think Will Levis sucks. That's my bias.
Yeah. I'm fine with whatever. I'm fine with whatever.
Okay, we'll go Tannehill. It would be 11 spots early, but we do have Cortland Sutton here for stacking purposes. We don't have to. And then we have Cooks, Davis, Dotson.
And then what? Pacheco is the top running back?
Yeah, we're at Pacheco, Penny, Cook, Herbert.
Is Pacheco still available? Oh, no, he just went. He just
went behind it. Okay.
Let's go Cortland Sutton. Let's just take the stack. Go Cortland Sutton. You have 3 seconds.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so far we are at Russ, Richardson, Lance, Tannehill. Probably done at quarterback. Don't necessarily have to be. Pittman, Ayuk, Sutton. We're still good on running back, even though we'll definitely add some more. And then Kelsey just kind of holding it down. So that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, thinking it through a draft strategy aspect, I would say round 20, we're probably going to grab a second tight end. Maybe it's Hunter Henry, maybe it's Zach Ertz, lots of options there. We could even consider from a stack aspect. We're probably the only other tight end we need. QB wise, I wouldn't mind grabbing another QB. My thought would be in that 18-19, you've got a decent amount of the, I don't know, maybe you want to go with Mac Jones, does get traded or gets benched. Maybe you want to go with the Taylor Heineke actually takes over for Atlanta. Like there's a decent amount that my overall Superflex strategy has been that like if you can get that 19th, 20th QB to hit, that's probably the most valuable thing that you can get in all of underdog drafting. Just because all you need them to do is get starts, as long as you structure the rest of your roster around it, meaning you're not like devoting QB to start the draft. Just them getting starts is so valuable compared to every other 20th round. You need them getting starts, but you also need them performing very well to actually get into your lineup at the other positions.
Yeah, especially if you can add to the correlation before that. If we can kind of think through some of these 18, 19, 20 quarterbacks, they're becoming even more valuable in the 13th round if you're drafting some of their wide receivers and tight ends. So I think you're adding so much correlation on top of the value where it could just be points of replacement wise they're worth it, but also you can kind of think through some of the correlation where like a one-off running back or one-off tight ends, you're not going to gain any of that value.
Yep, I like that.
I have a few busted CJ Stroud stacks in the big board that ended the first one as well. Just because I had so many Stroud to DJ Chark to Adam Thielen stacks that are just no longer live.
Yeah. All right. So talking CJ Stroud, the last like 48 hours, maybe 72, have been insane with how much negative press has come out about CJ Stroud. It feels almost inorganic. I think it literally is. It's just a lot of people were kind of keeping this hush hush, but once the first person comes out with it, other people are willing to kind of rally on top of it and just kind of chime in. And it's definitely where there's smoke, there's fire. But facts for the draft, I mean, so I was in Denver for 3-4 days, and that's the only place I've been that I can actually put in like draft bet. Can't do down in Florida. And so like I kind of hammered what I could and went like hard on CJ Stroud going 3-4 when his odds of the top of the draft were still like, I don't know, minus 120 or minus 150 or such. I'm now concerned that like they drop even further than that. Like it's interesting.
I believe is wrong. I believe that's bad analysis by the NFL. But we've seen that time and time again that it's pretty much groupthink. So like when a couple teams think that way, everyone else catches on and does research or listens to the people, more importantly, like a Justin Fields, and then that player ends up dropping. So now I don't think it's shocking if we see CJ Stroud reach 6th. And even if the Lions weren't in the quarterback market before, they have to think about CJ Stroud.
Yeah. I think he goes 3, but yeah, go for it.
I think I'll be buying the dip on him. There was reports from the last couple of weeks that there was a huge gap consensus wise that was Stroud and Young first and second, and then everybody else after that. And I think that's where the truth was. And I think now we're in the parts where there's some, I don't know if it's agents getting at it or who's leaking this stuff, but I find it hard to believe that CJ Stroud's like a bad guy when we hadn't heard about that at any points, and then he declared early and all that stuff. And like, I don't know. Will Levis, to me, it seems like Will Levis stocks up and CJ Stroud's down. But Will Levis, after this insane junior year that everybody talks about, it was the worst quarterback class that we've seen in forever. And he didn't declare as a redshirt junior coming from Penn State and Kentucky. That was, to me, telling me that the NFL didn't really like this guy. And he had a worse season this year. And now all of a sudden his stock is going up. And CJ Stroud, who's a junior early declare Heisman Trophy guy, and now he's the one that's not supposed to make it. I think this is like the draft needs to start 2 weeks earlier so we don't get to this point. That's my take.
The only thing is I have seen 3 separate people note that Levis is the number 1 quarterback on the Colts board. Like it wasn't just 3 like people who read their own stuff too. It was like Colts beat reporter Kevin Bowen, who's working the team for over a decade now. It was Lombardi, and then it was Walter Football, I believe. All have noted that that's their guy.
Dago, Galaxy Brain, Lombardi's son works for the Raiders now. Do you think that there's some potential little smoke screens going on between that?
I don't think, because it would have to be a collaborative smoke screen. It would be McDaniels, Lombardi, and Cesario, which tells me it's Patriots ties because they all do the same work, saying we all hate CJ Stroud more than anything, as opposed to all running smoke screens around each other.
Did you see that all 3 of them played on the same football team?
No.
Dude, look this up. I tweeted about it. I'll send you the link.
That's not shocking at all. I'll retweet it if you share it. Yeah, that's not surprising. All right, Justin.
I like running backs here. and I'd probably grab two of them. There's a major drop off in my mind from this round and the next after these type of guys, and Damian Jamal are probably the top of my list here. I do like Elijah Mitchell a lot as well if we wanted to get that for the correlation, but
I mean, Damian Jamal to me, well, Damian's one. I think Jamal's the other, Hayden.
Yeah.
I'm the biggest Jamal guy there is. I'm not opposed.
Cool. I mean, that's easy. As I said on this show before, Justin, I'm going to be waiting to see Damian Harris's market to lead the league in rushing touchdowns when it comes out. I really think there's something to that Josh Allen basically not getting injured anymore from running. Not only has he talked about it, not only has McDermott talked about it, but it's very much what the Chiefs do in Patrick Mahomes, which Kelsey's talked about on his podcast, not running inside the 5-yard line because when he broke his kneecap and like everything cratered from there, they know Mahomes is far more important than him trying to scramble for a touchdown.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean,
plus, they're not going to use James Cook inside the 5 as they showed last year.
Right. I'm in full agreement there. I was honestly surprised that that the rugby scrum kind of did not get removed with how big of a role that it played in the Super Bowl. And obviously, Eagles were using it all year. Definitely thought that was going to get removed. Yes, Hurts now signs this major contract, but I don't think they stopped that. I think that Hurts is just a different beast. The way that they kind of run that play, it doesn't seem like it's ever getting a hit. No one's ever getting low on him. You think that's like an outlier? You think they also then now start playing a little safer too because that contract he signed?
No, they're getting the most of Jalen Hurts right now. That's what I think. I'm more concerned about Josh Allen, a little bit older. The other thing is Steph Diggs has been such a freaking animal in Buffalo these last 3 years. He hasn't missed any time, and he's now 30 years old, and they have no depth. I would be a little bit nervous that I think the floor for the Bills is much lower than it is with the Eagles. So I have Jalen Hurts as my quarterback 1 right now. So, and now that's Superflex or any type of tournament. I like Jalen Hurts, and I'm a tad bit worried about Josh Allen going into this year.
If, as you mentioned, if 3 teams play the Eagles into the fourth quarter, you're getting more actual competition equity with Hurts this year. That's all it takes. And given that they had the league's easiest schedule last year, I would imagine it's a little more than that. So I agree. Hurts QB1.
And their defense is a lot worse.
Yes.
They ran into salary cap issues. They had to let people go. And their offense really hasn't taken the hit other than if you want to say Miles Sanders, but whatever, running backs, I don't care, blah, blah, blah. So I'm all on Team Hurts. I still have Josh Allen number 1, but I do have Hurts ahead of Mahomes.
And by worse, obviously, even the dip from 2nd in the league to 10th in the league, that's pretty massive for fantasy. So yeah, of course, all in on Hurts.
All right, we got to go wide receiver hunting here, right?
I think so.
All right, let's find some good ones.
Yeah, we are at 4-4-3-1 with Kelsey. So here's where we're at right now.
Let's think through the stack partners that we have. So San Francisco, there's no one really left. Denver, it is just
Tim Patrick.
Which is 170s.
Oh, he went already?
No.
Oh,
he's way down. He's 189 now. Yeah.
I think Jalen Hyatt could be somebody like the Titans or whoever Anthony Richardson goes to. There's a chance that you get lucky in the 2nd round with him.
Las Vegas and Anthony Richardson is very plausible.
Yeah, definitely.
Sure. Jacoby Myers, so probably top of the board, possible correlation.
I think Lazard just might be underdrafted, period. I know there's no correlation there, but I just think people hate on Alan Lazard, and he's going to have the chemistry. And I think that they'll get rid of Corey Davis. And once we all assume that Corey Davis is gone, but I don't think that the ADP, there will be an ADP bump the second Corey Davis gets released or traded. And yeah, I'll bet on Alan Lazard just being right there with Rodgers.
That's fair. And then Zay Jones and DPJ, anyone who's using ETR rankings knows that they're going to end up with a lot of those guys. And personally, I like them because I'll trust the projections from all the inputs, but they also both have pretty strong contingency value. Both going to be on what we think are going to be strong offenses. Zay Jones, I don't expect that, yes, he's not going, Calvin Ridley's going to play a role. Calvin Ridley's going to eat 7-8 targets a game. So yes, it's going to hurt Zay Jones to some degree, but you have one injury there. And I think Zay Jones can still way outperform his ADP here. DPJ, I don't think Elijah Moore is going to step into a major role. I think DPJ plays a bit of a different role. He plays that the field stretcher. So I like him kind of continuing to, improve that connection with Deshaun.
Do you like Zay or DPJ over Lazard?
I'd like them. I like all three of the previous ones ahead of Hyatt. I'm not huge on Hyatt. I know maybe you can get some correlation just because I'm down for any of these. I don't think it's that big of a difference, but my vote would probably be
I don't like Hyatt's role over the other two. I just think we have I know we have much greater odds considering the other two aren't on the stacking teams.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I would argue, but that doesn't mean we have to have Hyatt. Doesn't matter to me. Hayden.
I would say there's 5-10% chance that he goes in the bottom half of the first round, and those teams would be absolutely wheels up too. So I would pick Hyatt, but I think that's like
Let's do it.
Picking for the stealing, not the median. Like the median outcome, I think the other two beat up.
Yeah. Sure. I'm all about range of outcomes, especially pre-draft with rookies and such. And you've got two opportunities here. One is back half of the first round, which means on an explosive offense, good QB, wheels up. Or two, ends up going early second. And now you've got a lot of the teams that we've actually have correlation with, maybe draft him there. So not bad.
What other leaks, Justin, have you noticed in Superflex leagues outside of what you mentioned and late round tight ends? Not having to draft a quarterback if you're in the back, if all the elite ones are gone, which they always are in these types of formats. What else?
Yeah, I think you're going to ask what other leaks other than that Carolina is eventually going to draft Will Levis. But that's the only other one that I have. I didn't even join in because you got pounced on the moment you tweeted that. I was like, all right, it's like making fun of Baker Mayfield or Ezekiel Elliott. It's like, I'll leave it be because everyone else has this taken care of. Yeah, hey, that's one of those ones that in 2 weeks, like there is no better receipt that I can show.
That's true. That is true.
This actually happened. There's a way this actually happens. Like all of the Bryce Young talk and being so strong and those odds moving means that now you have multiple camps saying that like he's going number one overall. That's exactly what Carolina wants everyone to think if they do want to trade out for and they're content with someone else. No question Bryce Young is a better QB than Will Levis, but like that doesn't mean that Carolina wouldn't be content with a massive trade that allows them also to get Will Levis. So if we go Bryce Young number one overall to a different team, say it's Houston, who's been saying there's two QBs that we really like. There's two QBs that are above the rest because they want to create that leverage at their spot. They're willing to trade up, hopefully not give up too much. Carolina then goes down 2. We know CJ Stroud is not as popular as we're hearing. Maybe they actually say, you know what, we'll take that extra third, fourth rounder that we traded for, grab Will Levis, and I just hit a 50-1 hit. And there is some buzz out of Carolina, local beat reporters, that they really do like Will Levis.
That is something. That is
Welcome to the NFL draft. I love this stuff. The galaxy braining that you're allowed to do with this stuff is so good. And I'm guilty of it too. I just love listening to all the theories. One of them will come. Somebody will be right.
You and Josh went impromptu just randomly the other night. I listened to it. It was really good.
It's crazy. Will Levis is the second favorite to go 2 overall right now, ahead of Will Anderson.
There's not greater odds, but there's no way. There's no way Levis goes 2. And that's not even like taking into account my own biased hatred for his style of play in the NFL. It's just like nothing makes sense if he goes 2. Nothing. It just doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, I'm not buying it.
I mean, Henry Ruggs went number 1 wide receiver a few years back, and that made 0 sense other than dude is fast.
He is fast.
That's why Anthony Richardson would go ahead of Will Levis.
Yeah. Will Levis, you see his body? He who was
my take? There's insecurity issues that are like I think there's more to this Will Levis stuff than has been.
You think he needs therapy?
I think
there's insecurity issues behind this camera when I see that body. Like,
I agree. I think that there could be reasons why Will Levis falls. I tweeted out one time that I think Will Levis was falling, and immediately I got like DMs and like Dane Brugler and people saying like, oh, I think he's going to fall. And then Daniel Jeremiah put it out there. And then on the latest thing, they're like, oh, maybe there's links to Will Levis to the Colts. But if it's not there, then I can see him falling. So I don't know. All it takes is one team.
My favorite
damn Texans, but I think he's going to fall.
I think my favorite Galaxy brain, I have no opinion on it. I just think it's funny. So far, has been that whenever Jim Irsay put out that troll tweet, he screenshotted Will Levis first due to the order of the photos.
Yeah.
So when he thinks of big 4 quarterbacks, he thinks of Will Levis first. That's all. That's been my favorite Galaxy brain of the season.
What are the odds he posted that tweet? Just himself.
What are the odds he can tweet?
He loves his Twitter. He always does like random giveaways before like Colts games. Like,
and it was like there was like 6 pixels in each one of those pictures. They were like some of the worst screenshots I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Well,
so to your original question, before we Galaxy Brain this, what's the leak? I think it has to do with tight ends. You look at team 1 here that just went Taysom, Michael Mayer, and Dalton Kincaid like back to back. Take a look at what tight ends we could get back to back with our 18th, 19th, and 20th. And I think they're pretty much comparable, if not higher projections. Yeah, you're missing out on upside or such, but I think there's so much value if you miss out on elite tight end to just focusing your last few picks, because Hunter Henry, Zach Ertz, like these are guys that actually have decent upside, but like their average is not much different than the guys going 5 rounds before.
Well, Cade Otton will be on the field. Like I can at least say that. Unless the Bucs squeeze in a first round tight end, because who the hell knows what they're going to do.
Is Tim Patrick available? 189's ADP. Yep.
He is.
Let's do that.
Start there.
And then
we have Nico Collins. If you want to squeeze out a potential Trey Lance, Anthony
I do
Richardson
love Nico
stack.
a lot. I'm high on Nico. Who do we have top of the queue? Adam Thielen.
Kind of the same guys, honestly.
I mean, Nico's a lot younger.
I mean, I think not only Nico, but like Nico with possibly Richardson or Lance. I'd rather take that chance.
I think that's probably right.
Hayden?
I like Nico.
Yeah. I mean, I just draft Nico all the time anyways. Just a guy who's out there at least.
Better and best.
Same here. Yeah, and I mean, I think a lot of the concern with Nico is, they're going to draft another wide receiver with one of those early picks. But here's the thing. Nico's not coming off the field as a result. Like Robert Woods is the one who will probably first starting the 3-4 games, and then rookie wide receiver takes his spot. That's, I think, far more likely. Like Nico, I think he's going to be a part of that future with that rookie QB.
Yeah, Nico plays the X, and there's no X receivers in this class, basically. Like maybe Cedric Tillman is that, but there's no X receivers. So I think Nico, even if they draft one, it'll be for Robert Woods.
That's why.
Would you say Quentin Johnston at all, or?
I don't think he's an X. I think he's going to play more Z.
Okay.
He looks like an X.
He's a Z in an X body.
Yeah. That's why like I keep trying to squeeze him out of the first round, because it doesn't seem like anyone's high on him. But maybe teams get high on him because he's the only one who's not 5'5", 160. It's like, oh well, he's big. Like maybe he works his way that way into the first round.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I might leave him out. I might leave him out of round 1.
It seems like him, Kalijah Cansey, Cam Smith, the cornerback, and there's one more. Maybe any of the linebackers like Jack Campbell, Trenton Simpson. It seems like those are the guys that are getting harder and harder to squeeze into the first round of these mocks.
Yeah, I agree. Cansey, every single time I mock, I'm like, I want him out of the first round, and then I start looking at the names that I'm putting over him, and I'm like, I can't do it.
Because the Bills seem locked more in. I have just assumed they were going to draft one of those linebackers, but they seem locked in on interior defense more than anything. Defensive tackle right now.
Yeah, there was one mock draft note. Jack Campbell's working with Luke Kuechly, and they need linebackers from Buffalo, and Luke Kuechly, and obviously they have all the connections with the Bills. And it's a massive team need. Jack Campbell checks like the athletic box over there too. Daniel Jeremiah had that one once, I think maybe on a podcast. So I've kept that in the back of my mind, but I'm with you. Defensive line gets mocked there the most, but I think it's because there's no like consensus linebacker one right now. So you can even be right and say it's a linebacker, but pick the wrong one. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do there.
I know you chop it up, Justin. The rookie rankings with Leone over the, I don't know why it's setting a
time to go run. Time to go run, boy. You got marathons.
What am I supposed to do at 450?
Run.
Now I'm curious what I'm missing in my life. I know you look at or chop up the ETR ranks with Leone. And so I'm curious on how you've been treating like late round rookies. Are there some you're targeting you've just always been drafting? Because on this show, Hayden and I have talked about Kendry Miller and Dwayne McBride, for instance, as two guys we just always end up with.
Yeah. So the way that our kind of structure or format worked is because now best ball is literally all year round, and we don't have actually the projections team doing all these projections the day after the Super Bowl. To start off, it's basically me just kind of creating my rankings and then working with Amico to do a lot of the rookie aspects. And so he's probably has the greatest input early on to the projections. And then when we move over, which is probably a couple weeks ago, to the actual projections and Leone leading that team, Jack Miller doing great work and everything there. That's where it's, hey, still a lot of Amico's kind of ideas on what role they're going to play, capital, all of that, and pushing it in. My overall strategy has been I'm high on the running backs and I'm very low on the wide receivers. Why? I think there's just the greatest amount of variance pre-draft for the running backs because so much is going to be devoted to where they actually, what their role is. A lot of them are going to be busts, but I think this class particularly, as well as just kind of the roles that they're going into, you don't have as many workhorses in general anymore. So any rookie that kind of has an opportunity to earn a larger role is actually going to be pretty valuable. And then I think you do have a few guys that like are projected to be like 4th, 5th rounders, but have workhorse potential, which I think is really nice. My sleeper is Kenny McIntosh, 4-year player out of Georgia. In general, doesn't have the metrics that we love. I think he ran a 4.61, like nothing sexy there, but in college each year kept catching more passes. I think he got 32 in his final year. He's the type of guy that I could see like, no, is not the most exciting. The dynasty crowd hates because he's a 4-year player, but in pass protection, he can be trusted, can come into a team and actually gain a role early on. And he's not being drafted at all.
I watched a lot of Kenny McIntosh. He runs like actual routes. He's not just like a check down artist. So I think there's going to be a role for him. He just didn't miss like break any tackles. So that's why he's going to be probably a 5th or 6th round pick. But there are teams that need that type of back. So we'll see.
All right.
Hear it.
I think we're at what, a running back position probably now?
I'm fine with Leonard Fournette. I still think that a team like after the draft that's going to miss out on a running back like may still want a dependent kind of guy in Leonard Fournette. What we're paying for him is ridiculously cheap. If we wanted to go tight end, I think Hayden Hurst is a tier above the rest of these. But I also, again, don't mind if we just wanted to wait later on and grab another wide receiver.
Yeah, I don't have any tight end takes. They don't matter.
This is where the wide receivers are currently. If anyone stands out among this group, we can draft
no correlation aspects, but like I think Khalil Shakir, at least from being tied to Buffalo, Isaiah Hodgins actually looked like a wide receiver last year, which was nice. But
I like
so many
Shakir.
mouths to feed in New York.
I don't mind Shakir at all. And then obviously that means that you are comfortable usually, even in large fields, I should ask too. If you have Travis Kelce, you're only interested in a last round tight end, a 2 tight end build.
Yeah, I think plan right now is last round I'll be grabbing one of those remaining tight ends, and I'm confident we're going to have someone who's going to be fine, and then taking a look at QB and thinking like, hey, which QB, and maybe instead of Khalil Shakir, we should have been looking at the QBs to see like, get our choice of these last round ones. But I think we're still going to be fine now.
Hendon Hooker, 1st round quarterback, yes or no?
I had to be a coward, but I think it's like legitimately like close to 50-50 right now. I think I'm going to have him in mind. I saw Tony Pauline, who kind of is all over the place, but I do like reading some of his stuff because he talks about not just the 1st rounders. He said that the Raiders have him as their quarterback 3 and that they potentially could be looking to trade up. That's like 37th overall. The Eagles have the 30th overall pick and they only have 6 draft picks. So I think that they're a trade down candidate. So I think teams like the Lions could be interested, the Titans, the Texans. There's a couple, the Raiders definitely in play. I thought that Hendon Hooker had a chance to be an NFL quarterback. That's my bias. But I watched a lot of him. I thought that he's super accurate and he's a smart dude. So I am leaning a slight yes, but it's very close to 50-50.
So for relevance for this year, what are the chances he plays a game this year coming off that injury?
Okay, I think he tore his ACL like not super late, and he thinks
November, right?
Right. So I think people are putting too much emphasis on this ACL. First of all, quarterbacks come back from ACL injuries a little bit more. He's a somewhat dual threat, but he's not like a run first type of guy. I think he's going to be out there. He'll be moving around in training camp. I think he'll be cleared to go pretty early. So it just kind of depends on the landing spot. He's pro. I think he's like relatively pro ready because he's so experienced. So I think the odds are fairly high that he's going to start games this year.
I think I worry much more about him being ready to command an NFL playbook than you are, since I still think, that Josh Heupel offense was pretty gimmicky with him in it.
Yes.
Almost like Rich Man's version of Matt Corral. He did. He has video game numbers. Yes.
He shredded
Jalen Hyatt.
And he completed 41% of his passes the last 2 years, 20 yards deep in the SEC. That's pretty fucking talented.
He throws darts. I mean, his arm strength is good. He's really accurate. He does not turn the ball over. He takes some sacks. I don't know. This, to me, it's not. Jalen Hurts was like a better version of this, and I love Jalen Hurts. But there were so many excuses on why Jalen Hurts is not going to pan out, despite having insane numbers at massive schools. And I feel like there's a little bit of the same type of thing happening with Hendon Hooker.
General Manager Hayden Winks, would you rather have Will Levis or Hendon Hooker?
I gave Hooker a late round 1 grade. I gave Will Levis a late round 2 grade. That's Hayden the GM, not fantasy football. It's much different.
I think that's probably accurate though.
Levis. Okay, I'm gonna read. I need to pull this up. Let me pull this up. I'll get back to it. I have some stats about Will Levis.
It's crazy. The guy who was the favorite to go number 2 overall is getting late 2nd round grades.
All right, ready for this. Levis will be a nearly 24-year-old rookie coming off a 9th percentile EPA final season among drafted quarterbacks. His negative 0.1 EPA per play on non-play action and non-RPO dropbacks is highly concerning, often correlated with spotty results against pressure. He ranked 116th out of 123 quarterbacks in EPA loss to sacks last year, and he only had a 15-8 touchdown to interception ratio when kept clean. He had a 47% on target rate on outside throws, blah, 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 blah. I can't find a single stat that backed this up. And enough of the excuses. He's a 24-year-old redshirt senior. Like, we should have seen this. And people go back to the junior stuff. His stats weren't even good in the junior year. I can't believe this.
So under pressure and clean pocket, he's equally as good. That's like a great thing in the NFL, right?
I keep seeing that, but I'm like, they're equally as bad.
What I have in my blurb for draft night is, FBS high 24% sack rate on 3rd down, and average an interception for every 26.5 attempts in the SEC, which is awful.
Yeah. I don't see it.
It's like 2 interceptions a game, 1.7.
There's a Will Levis in every draft class, and he's like Drew Lock to me. That's what I compare him to.
Well, there's a lot of people that like Drew Lock.
There's some people.
They were wrong.
Okay, here's another thing with the Will Levis. Who ranks Will Levis inside the top 5? Have you seen a single big board where people are actually ranking there? We keep mocking there. Is anyone actually going to bat for Will Levis? Who's the Will Levis fans? I can't name a single one. Something's going on up here. We'll see.
All right. So now we get to talk about your favorite late round quarterback as well as some other options.
QB and tight end. We definitely need from a tight end. All right, okay, let's do one of the two first. I don't know, but it's probably easier to click off of QB or tight end.
Let's go tight end.
All right, so Hooper's probably the top for me here.
I'm Hooper, Musgraver, Laporta. Laporta's so tiny. I'm worried about him a little bit.
I can't do a rookie tight end in best ball. Like there's no way.
I love this class of rookie tight ends. I just don't love them for this year in best ball. I've got that tweet queued up. And I'm just waiting until people are talking about tight ends.
But we're talking about tight end 36, not tight end 12. I think there's a path.
Let's go Hooper. And then QB wise, Zappy and Heineke are probably the 2 that I would consider. I don't think there's virtually any chance Darnold is playing at the end of this year, so I wouldn't be picking him. I think Bailey Zappy and Taylor Heineke, there's a better chance that they're playing in the playoffs, or just one we're caring about. Do you guys have a preference on Zappy or Heineke?
I don't. I would go Marcus Mariota personally, but I'm fine with any of these guys.
Sure. I'm down with whatever.
I'll go Zappy.
Okay.
Why? Oh, hold on.
I'm not sure what happened there.
All right.
Underdog.
Send it to the Slack, Hayden.
Put it in the Slack.
Put it in the Slack. Okay, so hold on. I'm not going to let that Marcus Mariota comment slip by, though. Why Marcus Mariota?
He plays for the Eagles, and
Just injury.
If Jalen Hurts is injured, that's helping us. We are dodging elite quarterback scores with our team. So Jalen Hurts not being a part of the conversation would help. Also, like Gardner Minshew was able to put up some numbers.
He goes early. Yeah, you're saying
last year, Marcus Mariota runs a little bit. So I mean, he doesn't have to be very good for them to do a couple quarterback sneaks, and all of a sudden you got a top 10 quarterback. He runs the ball a little bit.
I was just asking. I wasn't attacking. I was just asking.
Yeah.
Mariota also wasn't the worst the last time he was seeing the field. And I don't remember any other QB who has thrown himself a touchdown pass than Mariota. So that's pretty valuable.
Also, I can't remember the last player to leave their team and blame an injury. Just literally walk out because they got benched.
What was how much did he get paid? Let me see.
I can't even
Antonio
remember
Brown
his contract.
No, Mariota.
No. Mariota. I can't remember his
contract.
contract.
I know. I'm saying Antonio Brown, he ran out, but
that's true. That's true. Yes. That was spectacular, though.
Mariota got 5 years for 1 year, 5 years, or 1 year, $5 million this year.
Drew Lock got
Mariota's
one for 4, right?
Correct.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, Mariota's he's their QB2.
That's the only thing when I think about Seattle taking a quarterback, it's so annoying because it shouldn't bother me. I should still put one there if I think that's where they go. But that $4 million they gave to Drew Lock, it just comes out of nowhere. It's like, why? How did this happen?
If you look at the Lions quarterback 2, the Raiders quarterback 2, way worse. The Texans quarterback 2. I keep looking back at the quarterback 2s and I'm like trying to calculate how much to value it. But I mean, the Lions quarterback 2 right now, it's like Beathard or something like that. And right now the Raiders, it's freaking Hoyer, who's an offensive coordinator.
Can we talk Jared Stidham real quick? I know Pat Green is definitely high on him, which means low on Russ, but what do you think the likelihood of, and I know this is kind of the last chance season for Russ. He's really got to prove it to earn that bigger part of the contract, but what's the likelihood that Jared Stidham's actually, getting a chance this year?
Let's see. His contract was 2 years, $10 million. Yeah. So it's the same thing as Mariota. I think I don't think he has any more odds than the other quarterbacks in his kind of range. I think it's definitely there's a chance. I think Sean Payton's really calling the shots over there, and he's not afraid of a power move. So I think that's the big difference between this year and last year is Russ was going to win any power struggles. This year he's not.
Couldn't you see Russ walking away from the team too?
Yeah, I can't figure out Russ.
Let's do this. Show this. I mean, I think it comes down to basically if Russ sucks, Peyton does not fear benching him at all. He even spoke about that at the combine presser, I believe it was, mentioning that they believe Jared Stidham is a starter in this league. And it wasn't like coach speak either. He was selling Jared Stidham to everyone. And remember, Stidham did have one of the best games of the season against the Niners. Don't worry about what he did against the Chiefs the next week, but he did look good against the Niners that one time.
Yeah, I think he's got a shot, but it'll just come down to Russ. If Russ sucks, then I think they will move to him. But I think the odds are okay that Russ has not a full bounce back year, but not a pathetic year.
Yeah. All right, 12-team league. Not a large field format, literally just 12 team. And at the back, so forced into no quarterback. So just your overall thoughts, Justin, on what we ended up doing.
Yeah, so I'm happy with the McCaffrey, Kelsey, Chubb start. I think running back is kind of the most important position outside of QB for this. So kind of allocating decent draft capital to it and getting elite studs is great. Kelsey, I either want to go elite or wait to the very end. We get Kelsey, awesome. QBs, Russ, Anthony Richardson, Trey Lance, Ryan Tannehill. I think this is a kind of a run-of-the-mill. If you're skipping out on the top QBs, these are the upside guys you want to grab. I personally probably would have gone with Baker, Will Levis, than Ryan Tannehill from an upside standpoint, but hey, it works. We're going to throw in that we also drafted a 5th QB at the very end, which I think is the smart move for this play as well. And so I don't hate our QB room. Yes, we are behind the 8 ball. Yes, we are going to have a difficult chance because we don't have an elite guy, but I think we've got enough people that can kind of stem together a average of 20 points a game in both of our QB slots. and hope that we can make up for the points in that tight end position or those running backs. And wide receiver feels like we kind of just let it fall to us as it did. We really focus on stacking, which I think is most important. I am heavy on board that the kind of number one thing that people are still not doing enough of in this structure of our BBM and other tournaments is stacking. It is just so important going forward with the playoff structures and the ways that kind of these tournaments are framed. So love that we just said like, hey, I'm not sure if I love these wide receivers, but I'm getting stacks out of them. And then we're getting some strong flyers later on.
Hayden, what do you have coming out for everyone this week ahead of night one of the draft?
We're doing prospect videos next week. It's basically mock draft week. Diggle, you're going to be on our show, I believe. And
I believe I'll see you Monday or Tuesday. Yeah.
We'll release our own mock drafts, and then we have an NFL draft show with Trill Withers and Coley Mack. That's it.
Justin, what do you have at ETR for everyone ahead of drafts and the launch of BBM4?
Yeah, we once the BBM4 kind of launches, we are going headfirst into, we're going to update the content, put some articles out. Rankings are already there and just going to continue to be updated. And then me personally, I will be launching a bit of a new kind of rebranded show under the ETR umbrella for the best ball, but it'll be same thing, bringing on a lot of the great guests, experts from this industry. So I'd love to have both of you two on. It's going to be another fun summer. I'm not exhausted yet. I'm not planning on getting exhausted. Just got to keep getting recharged. Hey, that's what this week is for. Don't be pinging Rudman, Hayden saying, hey, launch a tournament for the next week or something.
Outside, everybody. Or rankings. Work on your own rankings or go outside enough already. And Justin, I promise you, we'll try to develop some new games so it's not the same conversation. And the BBM4 structure, my favorite structure to date, all that stuff will be announced next week while we go for the draft. So do not get tired yet. Too much good stuff's coming out.
Literally on the most accurate podcast feed, just released as we speak. I spoke with 5 beat writers, the 5 teams that I believe could take a quarterback in the first round. So you can listen to it there. We also will not be back with the happy hour next week since it's night one. Watch our show, watch the Underdog show, go to ETR, watch it wherever you'd like to. Doesn't matter. You'll enjoy it either way. So until then, we will be back with a post-draft happy hour, the first one in 2 weeks' time. Until then, be a little bit kinder than what's required. We'll see you then.